Welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest news. Coming up on today's episode, Forest are set to go Brazilian again. Is Cooper gonna manage a rival club in the Premier League? And talks on the City ground have begun yet again. And Nuno's key positions are rumoured and revealed as his shopping list is put together. All this and plenty more coming up on your news today. Let's get into it. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest news. As always, please don't forget to hit that like button. Let's get like 507. Let's go big today. Make sure you're subscribed if you are new here, and you've only got a few hours left on the signed LED framed Forest kit from Football Prizes. The link's in the comments and description. Okay, let's jump into this. So the last couple of days we've been all like professional or ish in terms of talking about PSR and everything like that. Make sure you check those videos out. But today, let's get back and talk about the transfers, the gossips, the rumours, everything that's going on with Nottingham Forest. And let's kick it off with some incomings that Forest are scouting. And Forest are looking to reproduce the model that has served them well over the last couple of seasons. Yes, everyone goes on about 6 billion signings and what have you. But what they fail to tell you in the mainstream media that we know as fans is that we have had some gems unlocked, the likes of Murillo, Danilo, etc, etc. And Forest are looking to replicate that model and are looking again at the Brazilian market. But this is a market not directly from Brazil. They're doing the upgrade method, if you like, and looking from players that have started to establish themselves in Europe. And I want to talk and start with the first one, which is Morato. He's a centre-back who currently plays at Benfica. And he is scouted as the next big thing, the next wonder kid. He's had interest in him a year ago from other bigger European clubs. But now with his links to Nuno, etc., there is talks that Forest are in for him. His price tag, though, is kind of high for Forest in terms of a centre-back. You're probably looking at about 15 to 20 million. 22 years old, played for Benfica, and honestly, that's as much as I can give you on him. I haven't seen him myself play. But what I do know is that this potentially is a sign or a hint that maybe he's a replacement for Murillo rather than a partner. To go all Brazilian at the back would be fantastic. But I think if Forest were to pull this one off, potentially this could be the sign of Murillo leaving. And as we've said in the PSR videos, if Murillo were to go, he would sort out all of our PSR issues. So that's the first Brazilian link. Now the second one is a young gun goalkeeper. Again, it's someone who I don't know too much about, but I'll give you the details that I have. It's Andrew. He's made 35 appearances for Gil Vicente throughout the 23-24 campaign. And he's kept 9 clean sheets and conceded 51 goals. Now, this potentially isn't to be a second goalkeeper to Sells. This is to be a number one choice for Forest. Now, from what I've seen of him, he's a bit lean in his body type, a bit thin. Conceding 51 goals in that league, I don't think is too great, but has kept about 28% clean sheets in his time between the sticks. 2.5 million is what he's worth. He's one of those potential players. What I think we're going to see with Forest over this summer is links to younger players that they can develop, and as we've said to you a few months back, and then put them in the shopping window and then look to sell them on for profit as well. So what's developing, and as we said in the intro, is Nuno's key starting positions. Now Forest needs strengthening for me in midfield. We need another attacker, another right winger, but it looks like Nuno wants to start from the back. Sort out the goalkeeper situation, sort out the defence, and then build his way forward. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Matt Sells, and is he good enough to hold down that number one shirt? I personally think he's okay. I don't think he's flamboyant. I don't think he's anything other than safe, which is not a problem for me. If Sells started between the sticks, I'd be okay with it just because I think we need to prioritize positions elsewhere. But you've seen a lot of talk, no doubt, this week about how bad his stats are on paper in terms to the rest of the Premier League, how he's in the bottom 3 or so in terms of saves. He's made a few mistakes. He's conceded more goals and what have you than Matt Turner, if you believe the stats. But for me, the eye test says he is clearly better than the likes of Turner, Vlachodimos, etc. But I still don't think he's the one. But I'm going to contradict myself and say I don't think it's the priority position that Forest need to be recruiting for. So there's this keeper being linked, and we've also got a second keeper being linked in Daniel Prowess. This is the Bayern understudy to Manuel Neuer. He's 23 years old. He's not getting a sniff at Bayern at all. And he's going to have to move on if he wants to give himself a chance at first team football. But Bayern would prefer to loan him out rather than sell him. Main reason being is that Neuer isn't exactly a young buck anymore, and eventually they probably would be looking at upgrading him into Neuer's position, or at least recruiting and buying themselves some time to find someone else. But he is linked with Forest. And I don't really like that keeper. I think we could do better than him. There are 1 or 2 others that I would have on my shopping list ahead of him. But I still go back to the point that I don't think keeper and centre back, and by the way, Morato can play at left back as well, is Forest priority. I think if we are getting rid of Murillo, then yes, we do need to replace it. But it is risky. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, let's move on to the second item on the agenda, and yeah, I can't believe it, but we're talking about Steve Cooper. It's making the news, so we might as well discuss it. But Cooper is heavily linked to joining Leicester City. Leicester's manager, who has now left and been confirmed by Chelsea, obviously leaving a vacant managerial position at a Premier League team. And Steve Cooper is apparently happy to accept the Leicester job. He's also been linked to the likes of Burnley and the likes of Sheffield before. We've seen the links with Brighton and so on and so forth. And I just don't think Cooper can go any higher, with all due respect to him, than maybe getting a Leicester, a newly promoted Premier League team, or having to go back to the Championship. But I do find this interesting. For me, I don't really care about Leicester. I don't see Leicester as a massive Forest rival. Yes, we are geographically rivals, but honestly, I can't stand Derby more than them. I can't stand Man U or Spurs or Sheffield. Leicester are not that high on my hatred list. So I'm not really fussed if Cooper goes there. In fact, I actually wouldn't mind it at all, with Leicester potentially getting points deductions, and they haven't, put their hands up and said sorry about their breaches. They could get heavily points deducted. And on top of that, I personally don't think Cooper can take a promoted team like Leicester, with the issues they're going to have potentially with points reduction, and keep them in the Premier League. So I would say, if this does happen, I'd notch it down as you might as well semi-contemplate that Leicester are going to be very heavily favourites for the drop next season. But do you guys feel betrayed if Cooper were to go to Leicester? Do you think that he should do that? The way he's talked about Forest in the past, how much he loves the city, loves the club, etc. And based on, your opinions and how much you like or dislike a team, do you see this as a betrayal? Let me know in the comments down below. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, and that is about our beloved City Ground. As a statement has been released by Nottingham City Council and Nottingham Forest, they've called it a joint statement. And let me just read it out to you in case you haven't seen it. Nottingham City Council and Nottingham Forest continue to work together regarding the future of the City Ground. Constructive discussions are taking place on a confidential basis. Both the council and Nottingham Forest will make a statement when these are complete, and will not be making any further comments until then. The end. And what do you take from this? Well, there's a couple of things you can take for it. The obvious one is that at least they are back around the table and starting to have discussions. in any negotiation, there is always going to be give and take. If the council are saying 10 million for the freehold and Forest are saying it's too much, then I'm sure at some point they can negotiate rather than lose everything in total. And with Nottingham Forest having fan pressure put on them in regards to staying at the City Ground, and the likes of Tom Cartledge basically, for me, not fit for purpose on this one. He should be recusing himself of anything to do with the City Ground, with the connections and the other companies that he's involved in. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But I do think this is a positive sign. If you are one of those ones who want to stay at the City Ground, then at least them being back round the table is a good starting point. But I just don't think this one's going to be wrapped up that quickly. One, because Forest have time on their hands. There's still, 33 years left on the lease. Okay, you can't run it down to 0. It doesn't work like that. Think about it like a leasehold if you're buying a flat in a normal society, where if it has less than 80 years, then you're going to struggle to get a mortgage on it. So this is quite similar in terms of the fact that Forest just can't sit on their hands for 33 years. These discussions will have to take place. Forest do need to make a decision one way or another. Are they staying or going? Because the worst thing for me that can happen with this is it drags out. Because the uncertainty is the thing that frustrates me more than anything. But I'm telling you now, I'd be very surprised if we get a resolution on this in the next 6 to 12 months. Because this is Forest, isn't it? But what are your thoughts on this? Do you see it as a positive or a negative that these two are sitting down and having a chat again? And do you think anything will come out of it? Let me know, as always, in the comments down below. That brings you up to date with your latest Forest news. If you've enjoyed the content and haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And go check out the two-parter if you haven't seen it already. I'll leave them both for you on the end screen. It will explain to you just how much trouble Forest are in when it comes to PSR. We've got weeks to sort it out. Come on, you Reds.